Welcome, guys, to my strategy chapter 1, which is 52-week breakout chapter. This is a strategy. I have like 20 different strategies for small cap stocks, and this is probably number one, the most important. 52-week breakouts is a strategy that I've been using a lot. When I see a ticker on my pre-market scanner or on my midday scanner or on my gap scanner, like three of the scanners, and I see it approaching or getting close to breaking 52-week high, I start, preparing. Because the more participants, 52-week breaks are the most important breakouts of the market. That's where you have a lot of participants. There's people in the market that just, use a stock fetcher and they only scan for 52-week breakouts. So that's actually a strategy that I use, and you need to combine this strategy. You need to combine this strategy, say like with a daily breakout, with a first green day bounce breakout, or you can see so here that they are the most highly rewarding setups in the stock market for a long bias trader. They're worst for a short seller. So whatever I do, I would never short a 52-week breakout. It's something I would never do. Um, so you need to combine this, this 52-week breakout with, one of the top things from A to E. These are just secondary. If the stock is doing a daily breakout that day, if the stock is doing a first green day bounce that day, if the ticker is the first mover after a cold market, if the ticker is the only ticker that's moving that day, usually if a ticker is the only ticker that's moving that day, that means like all the liquidity is going to go into one ticker. Or even better, the stock has news that day. Or all these combined is going to create, a pretty much a bottle rocket, what I call it. And all you got to do is pretty much buy it and pretty much hold it and try to buy it and hold it as much as you can because some of them went from, I don't know, like $50 to $250 in one day. Uh, you can also combine this with a pre-market breakout, a trendline breakout, a VWAP reclaim after 9:30, and so forth. And if you can get the top five over here, you get a crazy ass bottle rocket. So this chapter actually will have approximately one, two, three, four, five, approximately 25 slides. And you can go back and review all these slides. These are grouped by the date. So these are actual tickers that happened, that day. In this situation, it was January 12th, 2024. They're grouped by, month, day, and year. We're gonna take a look at. We have about 25 slides in this chapter. The 52-week breakout. I like to, get you guys to understand that whenever a stock breaks 52-week high, it's like something amazing, and you need to capitalize on it. So in this situation, we have BMNR. This is a low float. It spikes pre-market. You can see so here it spiked up pre-market at 7. We kind of wobbled around, VWAP, kind of put a, higher trend line right about here, and then a breakout of around 450. This is where I actually did go long. I actually sold it a little too soon. I didn't even think it's going to go up to, $36 that day. If I did, I'll be, I would probably be holding it. But, I was just trading what the market is giving me. So I saw this wedge. I kind of bought it. I kind of sold it, and I sold a little too soon. I should have rebought it again once around $6. It formed around a wedge right here, around 640. You can see, so you have the uptrend and then the breakout pattern right here. And I should have rebought it, but I did not. And then soon enough, guess what? From 4, it spiked up all the way to 8. And if you look at, I can show you the daily right now, but BMNR had not a resistance on the daily about a month or two before, about I don't know 6 months before at 801. So that 801 is the 52-week breakout. So we spiked up to 3 and we go straight to 8. There was a couple of things that happened here. You had a VWAP reclaim pattern here in the pre-market. You had a wedge pattern here. You had a low float. You had some news. You had a clean chart, and you have a breakout of 8. And I'll show you exactly what happened in the next slide because you will not believe it. Um, usually I have a setup called the gap up short, and I look for tickers that are gapping up more than 100% or 150%, between 150 and like 300. And this situation, it was the wrong stock to have as a gap up short. The reason why you should never short 52-week breakouts like this is it's because they go higher than we all expect. Like right here, it pretty much wedged a bit. It tried to gather steam to break that $8 mark, and you can see how violent it broke the $8 mark, and it broke $8, and we were at 16 in just like a couple of candles. Next thing you know, I bought it again at like, I don't think I bought it again, but it ended up hitting 35. It just straight up rocket. I don't remember what the news was on this one. I don't really remember. It was on the 12th, but it did have news. So after it hit 801 level, we pull back into support. So right here, you can see that we hit $8. So from 3 to 8, we pull back, and you also have a VWAP bounce after 8:30 setup here. VWAP bounce after 9:30, and you also have this is a wedge pattern formation right here, and you would go long right about there, and you have a stop right under it, and you would let the winners ride. This happened. This happened during the January effect of 2024. Like I say, there's also a Christmas effect. This is called the Santa rally that happens, in the middle of December till the end of the year, and then there's a January effect that happens in the first week or two of January that pretty much shows you these exponential gainers like this. But you can see so here that you could have rebought it again right about here at like 15 or so, and you could have rebought it again once it made a new high at around 20. And some traders are scared to buy it, but as it goes higher, you just need to buy it with smaller size, and you need to ride this momentum. I'm not really that good at riding this momentum, but no, because they don't happen that often. But I do need to hold my winners longer. So the point I'm trying to make in this slide is be very scared to short tickers around the January effect, especially the first mover. You never short the first mover after a cold market. Moving on to slide number 2. This is MSGM. This is a typical example of a midday squeezer with news and a 52-week breakout. So you can see that in the morning, so the news is they gain NASDAQ compliance. So you can see in the morning we were just hovering around 6, and then we kind of spiked up to around 9, and then like we faded off. And then you know how you had a VWAP reclaim that was also a combination with a pre-market breakout, and it was also I don't think yeah, it was a VWAP reclaim right here. VWAP reclaim right here combined with a pre-market breakout of around 850. We broke 850, we held 850, and we shot straight into the 52-week high, which was the 52-week high was 14. You might say that you would be chasing it here at 15, which you might be right, but that's true. But you could also argue the fact that this happened after 10:30, so you would be, pretty nice. Pretty nicely covered. You'll have, after 10:30, it's kind of like you have your tailwind behind you as a long, so you might be able to go long once it breaks pre-market highs right here. So you have some participants here in the VWAP reclaim. You have some participants in the pre-market breakout, and you have another load of participants as it breaks 52-week high. The point I'm trying to make is the more participants you have in a stock that day, the bigger the move. In this situation, it went from 5 that day to 30, which is ridiculous because you don't see this every single day. And it was a low float. It had some news. It moved for pre-market from 6 to 9. And midday after 10:30 just blasts off, breaks 14.5, hits 27. So this is the importance of 52-week breakout charts combined with after 10:30 squeeze. This is a very typical example of a midday squeezer with news and a 52-week breakout. And just because you don't think it's going to break 10 and it's going to hit 30, it can't. Because you were at 8 and you go to 12, it can go even higher than we all think. Moving on to slide number 3, I think we have around 25 slides in this chapter. HSCS, this is a typical 52-week breakout with news. You can see, so here the 52-week breakout was at 159, and I'm going to line that up with the intraday. You can see, so here that 159 was also the pre-market high that we kind of had trouble with at around 920. So after we broke the pre-market high of 155, let's call it, we also broke um, the daily breakout, which is also 159. And I actually went long on this ticker around 160, and I think I sold it at 190. I made a 15% gain, but in this situation, it actually went from 160 up to 240. So this was an 80-cent winner. 80 cents from 160. That will probably be around, I don't know, at least that's a 50% gain from, the 160, which is the 52-week breakout point, to 240. That's a 50% gain. Even though I sold it a little too soon, it exceeded my expectations. So this is why they're important. They pretty much, like I said before, the 52-week breakers have the most amount of bang for the buck. If you can find them and you can recognize them, and if you show up each day at the market, you're gonna watch your top gainers, the top 5 or top 7, and you plot them, and you show up between, let's call it 7 o'clock in the morning till about 10 each day. You're gonna see these movers, and you're going to, wait for them to break 52-week high, and then go long. And then, in this situation, I actually waited until we broke 159. You can see I bought it just above 159. So it was like a confirmation that it broke, because after, I didn't buy it before. I actually wait for the confirmation that it broke 52-week high. And then I pretty much just ride it. In this situation, I sold it way, way, way too soon. Moving on to another ticker, which is called MGAM. This ticker, there are 3 setups in this ticker. You had a daily breakout right here of 167. You can see, so here by this candle, red candle of 167, and you had a 52-week high breakout of 178. So the more tickers you can combine, and also broke yesterday's high, that's another one. So you're just cleaning out these daily breakouts here. So there are 3 setups in this play. A daily breakout of 167, 52-week 178, and you have also an intraday breakout of 167. You can see that in the morning here, we kind of pushed to 167, and we came back under VWAP, and then we reclaimed and we tested it, went again 167. We broke 167. We came back and held 167, and then you had this huge squeeze from 167 to 250, which is from 167 here. We broke 180 and we hit 250 right here in this 167 to 250 right here. And not only that, we came back, we held VWAP, and then pretty much hit 374 in the aftermarket. One of the most beautiful. This was a MoneyGram, I think, ticker. It happened in 2023. I think the ticker, I don't know what it was. I think something about regains. They had huge news, I believe. It wasn't the Nasdaq requirements. Was another news. It was significant news, and they just ripped, broke 52-week high, and went. Key indications for MoneyGram. I think it was a low float. I think it was 10 or 15 million. I don't remember. So wasn't like micro float or like under 3 million. It's more like between 5 and like 15. It wasn't like a micro float. It was just a lower float. It was a clean chart. That means right here on the daily, we had some, this volume bar at, what does clean chart means? It means like you look at the volume bar over here and you see whether or not today's volume bar is higher than this volume bar once we get to the high of this candle. Because it needs to take out all these back holders. Because, just picture yourself, you're in this situation, you're long at 160 and today's volume comes back to 160 and you want to sell. You're going to hold resistance. And if today's volume is not high enough to take out all these bag holders from here and here, it's just going to tank. But today's volume was extremely high, around 80, 70 million or whatever, way more than 10 or 8 million, and it pretty much ate all those what's it called, bag holders there. And we had a huge 52-week breakout of 174 to pretty much 374 on this day. Ridiculous amount of opportunity here. Next ticker is BBAI. So not all of the 52-week breakouts are going to be that powerful. There's going to be just base hits. A couple of them are just base hits, and base hits means 20% or more. In this situation, we had BBAI. You can see that 52-week breakout was 445. And right here, so let's read it. There are two setups in this picture. Breaks yesterday's high, so that's first green day bounce. This is talking about this candle right here. It broke $4, so we were above $4, which is over here. Breaks daily breakout of 445. This is a daily breakout of 445. This is also a 52-week breakout of 445. So when ticker breaks 52-week high, they're talking about, the sky is the limit. That's kind of like, I don't know if it went another day green, but once it breaks 52-week high, a lot of people have that mentality that you know, um, it's the sky is the limit. That's pretty much it. So BBAI has low float, nice chart, no news in play. The ideal play is buying it between 4 and 450 in this range over here, and then selling it between over 550, over 20%. Over 20%. That's ideally what you want to do in this situation. Moving on to, these are one of the craziest tickers that I ever seen, like 52-week breakout. This is Lunar. Lunar is a 52-week breakout play, as well as the first green day bounce here. You can see that it's a monster 52-week breakout play, as well as a first green day bounce play after consolidation. So the reason I don't like to short the first mover after a cold market is because this is what is possible. Um, you have a stock doing nothing, going from 10 to 40, and then it consolidates. It breaks 45 and goes to 140, 136. That's ridiculous in one day. And all you got to do is to buy it, and you will pretty much possibly double your account with these setups. While these setups don't come every day, it's important to note when they do, because if you combine these setups as being, with the first mover and with the first green day bounce and, with a 52-week breakout and with news and the only mover that day, this is one of the most powerful setups. So let's see what I wrote here. So this is a monster 52-week breakout as well as a first green day bounce. This ticker is also the first big runner after a long time. So after a long time, we have this big spike, 10 to 44. After it consolidated over here, above 35, so we consolidated above 35 in this area here, it gave another opportunity to go long. You can see a trend line that I drew here that pretty much coincided with around 45 area. That would have been ideal long where the trend line broke. I actually ended up buying it around 50, I believe. And then I wrote it, I don't remember where I wrote it to. But after it consolidated above 35 for a few days, it gave you another opportunity to go long 45 to 50 in this area here, right here, between 45 and 50. I actually went long at 50 because I waited until it broke 52-week high. Um, and then it hit a high of 136. So 50, 94 to 136. It nearly tripled that day. These are one of the most powerful setups. You have, the more participants you have in a stock, the bigger the explosion. And this in this situation, you had three setups. First green day bounce because it broke yesterday's high right here of around 44.70, 44.74, let's call it. Or maybe it's a little higher. I think it's 45 or whatever. And this candle here, so it broke this yesterday's high, which is over here somewhere. Number two, you had a 52-week breakout of 50.94, which is depicted by this yellow line right here, 50.94. That's where I bought it. And there's another setup here. I'm not sure if it had news that day, but this is also this is the first big runner continuation. So a lot of tickers think, just because it ran from, 10 to like 50, that means that's it. I know it can consolidate and we can go much higher. That's why you should never short the first big runner, because that thing is just, a bottle rocket. Everybody wants to go long and everybody's long, and it will go higher than we all expect. So, it had these three powerful setups. Combine these three setups together, create the perfect storm to go along a ticker from 45 up to 135 in one day. Moving on to the next ticker, it's CELZ. This is, not all of them are going to be so exciting. Some of them are just going to be pretty much basic. In this situation, CELZ, we gapped up to 5, and we kind of pushed here, and then we broke this 7 mark, which is also coincided with, an aftermarket high, a pre-market high, and also coincided, you can see how 7 was pretty much the round number we were having trouble with. And once we broke that 7, you can see 1, 2, 3, and then it also showed up in the pre-market here at 7. So this is a technical pre-market breakout at open of 7, combined with a 52-week breakout of 7. So once we broke the 7, it hit a high of 1074. So that happened in, I don't know, in a really small time from 7 to 1024 here. It actually went up 50%. It went up, $4 a share. Once we broke the 7, hit a high of 1074, giving a nice profit of 378. Giving, it went up $3.78. You could have made 50% profit in this, textbook 52-week breakout. I'm not sure this thing had a reverse split. We're just gonna play it by the chart. Has news, low float, great chart, and in play. What was the news? The company did have news. You can see so here the company had, after the company announced FDA authorization for expanded access. Oh, the next ticker is MLGO. This is the one big runner that keeps going higher. So you can see that this is the first green runner. You can see that we spiked up from around $3 up to 15, and it was a little bit choppy over here. You can see that, in this situation I took it multiple times. I took it long as it broke yesterday's high of 15, sold it at 18. I bought it again at like 14.5, sold it at 16, and then I didn't trade it over here, but I waited until it consolidated, and I bought it around, I don't know, 20, 21 as it spiked up in the morning. And I bought it as it broke yesterday's high of 52-week breakout of 2070. I kind of sold it at like close to 24. I did manage to make $3 profit, which was fine, but the problem is it went to 30. So this was a great setup, but I sold it way too soon. So this is the one big runner that kept going higher. As a rule of thumb, never short the first big runner. You can see how high it went from $4 to 30, but the way it moved, it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days to get there. So today's setup. So you have multiple setups going on here at the same time. It broke yesterday's high of 20, which is right here at 20. Number two broke 52-week high of 2074. And then we also broke the daily of 1973. That was hit three times. You can see this daily here of 1973. One time, two time, and let's call it a third time. So this is, kind of like a daily wedge pattern formation. And this is a high, a high, a high. And this is a wedge pattern formation. So once we got over 20 or 2074, which is over here, the 52-week high, the stock spiked as a 52-week breakout to the next resistance of 30. Sadly, I sold this play too soon, but it worked out just perfectly. Moving on to the next ticker, this is BFRG. This is a typical setup of a 52-week breakout of 582 in the pre-market. You can see so here that it also broke the yesterday's high or yesterday aftermarket highs of 504 right about here. So there were multiple plays to buy it. You could buy it as it broke yesterday's aftermarket high of 504. Was it? Yes, it was the 504 right there. And or you can buy it as it broke 52-week high of 582. Same thing applies to BFRG, low float, news, great chart in play. The plan is to buy it as it breaks the aftermarket high. You have two scenarios here. You can buy it a little sooner as it breaks the aftermarket high of 504, but I actually, wait until it breaks 52-week high of 582, which I did. And I actually didn't buy it here. I actually ended up buying it here and then selling it here. I actually didn't really make that much money on it. But the plan is to buy it as it breaks that 504 or 582 and hold it for more than 20%. Stock in both instances, whether you're buying it as it breaks the aftermarket highs or whether you buy it as it breaks this 52-week high of 582. In both situations, we went from 582 to 950. So almost $4 per share from the breakout point of 582. Moving on to the next slide. This is called GFI. This is a typical 52-week breakout of 23.6. So, I don't really know if it was the first big mover or it wasn't because it went from 5 to like 20. And then we kind of just dumped. We had a first green day bounce and then we kind of consolidated before 20. And now you have another wedge pattern formation. So you can see here that 23.6 was a 52-week breakout. And you had multiple resistance points where we actually went through them, came back and held, went through them, came back and held. No, actually we broke through it and then we held and then we broke through this one and then we rejected this one. So we went straight up to the daily breakout of 2114 and came back down, and then we broke that 2114 and we hit the 52-week breakout of 23.6, came back down, and now we broke the 52-week breakout and we hit 32. So you can see that there's multiple people sitting at these levels, either short or long. Some of them buy it as it breaks 18. Some traders buy it because it broke yesterday's high, because it broke this daily 1885. And some other traders buy it as it breaks 2114, and some other traders buy it as it's a 52-week breakout. So you have multiple participants in this setup. So the more participants you have, the bigger the explosion going to be. So the GFI is a typical 52-week breakout of 23.6. This ticker cleared a lot of resistance level, broke daily high of 1895. Broke daily resistance of 2114 and broke all-time high of 23.6. So the more participants in these three setups, the better the breakout explosion is going to be. Moving on to another ticker. This is top. This is something I really want to share with you guys because this ticker is very abnormal. And once this ticker goes up into the hundreds from like $10 or something, this pattern becomes very crazy here. So top, this is a stock that had a first green day, so we kind of went from like I think it was like 5 to like 20, and the next day we kind of spiked to 260 and came back down to 60, and from 60 we went to 260. I mean, this is the type of movement you might get in a 52-week breakout. So this is the importance. Top was a meme stock soaring 890%. So it was an all-time high 52-week high breakout. This is the reason you would never short an all-time high 52-week breakout because they're best for a long. I mean, how many times do you see a stock, gapping up, I don't know, 800%, 20 to like 60, and then from 60 it goes to 260. That's ridiculous. And like from 20 to 260, that's like ridiculous. I haven't seen one like this in a really, really long time. So a stock had a green day to $20 the first day, and day two the gaps up to 60. Just because it's up 800% does not make it a short. A lot of people think that, it's gapping up 500%, it cannot go any higher. It can't. This is a good example. This is a stock gapping up 800% and going up even higher. When it gapped up 800% and went from 60 to through 260, so it can really blow you up out of the water. And this is the most extreme example I think I've seen. From 5 to 250. It does exist, and it will wipe you out if you're not careful. Stock reached pre-market high of 260. This is something. This is the most epic thing I've ever seen. Top was a meme stock soaring. So, all-time high 52 breakouts are best for a long. This is why they're so important. This is why I created this chapter. This is CWD. This is a typical day two 52-week breakout. This was actually an IPO, but the setup in this scenario had day two continuation as it broke this 880. It had a day two continuation because 880 was yesterday's high. Number two, so number one is broke yesterday's high, 880. Number two is a pre-market breakout of 880, and number three is also a 52-week breakout of 880. So, as the market opened, we kind of broke the 880, and in like a couple minutes, we were at 13 because there are so many participants in this setup. You had the wedge buyers, you had the yesterday's high buyers, I'm sorry, the day two continuation buyers, you had the pre-market breakout buyers. So soon enough, you had this, all these traders are just piling in, and it went from, you can see, so here, went from like 9 to like 13 in like 2 minutes, just 40% profit, and just, this is a day two 52-week breakout. I mean, I don't, in this situation in 2023, IPOs were really hot. Right now, they're not. But, when they're hot, I will take a look at them more strongly and, make more money from them. So the more setups you can combine, the more participants you will attract in the setup, and the bigger the swings and the spikes. In this situation, there were three setups, the day two continuation setup, the pre-market breakout, and then you had a wedge pattern formation, and you had a 52-week breakout. So you had more like four setups in one. So they were all buying at the same level, and these traders are just gonna hold, and soon enough that's why we had the spike to 13 because traders pretty much locked in their profit there. Moving on to the next ticker, this is SBET. This is another monster play. In this situation, we are talking about this day here. So this is the setup. This is another monster play. So I'm going to explain all the setups that contributed to this monster play. So first off is the first green day bounce. That means it broke yesterday's high of, let's call it 32.77, depicted by this yellow line. And it's also a 52-week breakout of 455 over here. And he also had a daily breakout of 50 to 55. Let's call it 55. and you also had a 52-week breakout of 55. And one of the most important thing in SBET is that this one was part of the first big mover after a slow market. So like I said in many of my things, it's to never short the first big mover because it'll go so much higher than we all expect it will. I initially did buy this stock at around, I think it was 45 or 47 or something, and then I sold it at like 70. That day I think it was like a 30K profit because I held all my shares, and if I held just a little longer I could have made another $30 on this ticker, just buying it and pretty much holding it, held VWAP throughout the day, and it start pulling away after 130, and soon enough we got up to 105 that day, and the next day we got to 130. So just 30 to 130, it went ridiculously, almost 400% in like 2 days. So never short 52-week breakout. Try not to short the first one. As you can see that the majority of the big parabolic movers, they were all 52-week breakout, first green day bounce, and they were part of the first big mover. And they all moved differently, but this one went from 5 to like 120. IMNN, this is not, the first mover, but this is a 52-week breakout. You can see these are not really that exciting, but they soon enough, they do pay the bills and they are important for you to watch. This is because not every day you're going to be trading the 52-week breakout main mover that spiked up the market. This is a very nice first green day bounce of 52-week breakout right there of 240. Right there's 240 right there, and I think I bought it at 240 and I sold it at 290. There are a couple of setups in this play. In this day, it broke yesterday's high of 220. Depicted right here by this 220 over here, because we kind of just pushed, consolidated, and then we broke this 220. So it broke yesterday's high of 220, and it broke 52-week high of 240. So how I traded, I bought 240 and sold 290. I profit around 22%. Not all of them are going to be like 60, 70, 80% profit. Those come in a blue moon. But sometimes you're just going to get base hits, and base hits are just fine. This is a base hit, so I'm very happy about this base hit. Moving on to KWM. This is another 52-week breakout combined with a continuation play. As you can see, we pop up $2 to $6. We come back down. We have a first green day bounce at 4 to 575. I completely miss it. And then we had another continuation play of the first green day bounce, and it also broke 645. The way I traded it, so there are a few setups. Broke yesterday's high of 575, which is the continuation from the first green day bounce, because this is the first green day. It pretty much bounced, and then it broke 52-week high of 645, which is over here. So the way I traded it, I waited for the stock to break 645 right here, and then I actually was late to the party. I actually chased it at like 7 or 690. Ideally, you wanna buy it underneath 650, somewhere around here, 650 and 6. Ideally, that's really where you want to buy it. And I actually sold it around 825 or so. So even though I was late to the party, I should have bought it below 650. But I still did manage to make a huge profit on it. Moving on to the next one, this is SRM. This is actually a much slower mover, but it also was a 52-week breakout. I think I was flat on this mover because I was trying to size up on this ticker. You can see, so here there's a few setups in this daily chart. Broke yesterday's high of 810, which is over here. 810, which is right somewhere around over here somewhere. 810, actually over here. So it pushed, it dumps, it comes back down. I buy it as we break 1080, but it only went up around $2 per share. So there's a couple of setups. Broke yesterday's high of 810, which is, I think it was 810. This is the 810 I was talking about. and then broke all-time highs of 1080. So I was trying to buy it at 1080, but due to this chop right here, I kind of just called it quits. Even though this ticker did give me around $2 per share, this is a much, what I like about it is when we break, we hold and we keep going. Like right here, what it did was it came back. Like I only accept the ticker to come back to 1080 once, but if it comes back to 1080 twice, I have to take it off the table. So I initially did take it off the table, and soon enough we kind of grinded higher, broke 1150 and shot to 1280. So initially it was a hold the whole way because it did go to 1280. But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you'll just get shaken out. Moving on to another BMNR. BMNR is another, epic mover here. This is, also this is another monster setup that emphasizes the importance of not shorting the first big mover after a slow market. So in this setup, we had the first green day bounce because it broke yesterday's high right here of 63.58. You had a 52-week breakout of 75, let's call it. And you also, it was also part of the big mover, because it went from, I don't know, I think 5 to 35 to 70. So it consolidated. And just because, it went from, let's call it 5 to 75, you think it's over, it consolidates. It has a first green day bounce. It has a 52-week breakout. Next thing you know, you find yourself into the 160s. I know these are extreme scenarios, but they do happen every, every once in a blue moon. They do happen. This setup had first green day bounce that broke 63, not 63.6, and a 52-week breakout. I initially bought this ticker around 65. I don't remember where exactly I sold it because it was a long time ago, but the stock did indeed hit 160. So you might want to keep that in your memory bank. This is another example for MSAI. This is also a 52-week breakout continuation play. This is kind of a risky play. I'm not sure why I put it here. This is a 52-week breakout continuation play. This is 52-week breakout day 2 continuation. So it broke yesterday's high. You can see 471 right here, and we actually, we broke in the pre-market over here. We actually hit that 471 and we got picked up. And then again, we hit 471, which was yesterday's high, and we got picked up. And soon enough, we hit the pre-market highs, which was 483. So, it broke yesterday's high of, it broke pre-market high of 483, broke 52-week breakout of 843. You had a couple of setups here, VWAP reclaim. So, this is a much riskier play. You can buy it, you can buy it as it holds. Yesterday's high of 471 since day 2. But in this situation, or maybe a VWAP reclaim, but chasing it since it bounced from 450 to 8, chasing in the 8s is very risky. But in this situation, it just did a monster move from 4 to 14, which is one of the most epic 52 day 2 continuation I have seen. But then again, we were in a pretty hot market that week, I believe. So it's important to, not have a fixed bearish mindset. Moving on to NXTP, this is a textbook 52-week breakout of 240 combined with an intraday breakout of 240. So, as you can see, so in the morning we popped up on news. We came up to the 240, which is a 52-week breakout. We kind of pulled back, hit VWAP, came back, and we had a VWAP reclaim. We had a hold of VWAP, and then we had a push. Right there at 240, you had a couple of setups going on at the same time. You had, a daily, an intraday breakout. You had a 52-week breakout, and you also had a kind of like a wedge pattern, and you also had a somewhat of a pre-market breakout. Pre-market breakout was at around 270, and soon enough, buying it at 240, just because the stock opened up hit 240 and it's just hovering over here does not make the ticker going to sell off. Sometimes they pull, a wheelie, sometimes they pull a rabbit out of the bag and they just squeeze you in the afternoon after around 10:30 after 10. Actually, it squeezed right at 10:30. If you can see this candle here, it was at 10:25. And soon enough, from 240, a daily breakout, daily 52 textbook 52-week breakout of 240, combined with an intraday breakout of 240. And soon enough, we broke 240 and we hit 380. So that's something epic. So don't underestimate at any time those 52-week breakouts. Moving on to the next slide, and that is it. I think we just finished this whole chapter of pretty much all these slides. That is it. NXTP, MSI, BMNR, SRM, KWM, IMMN. This took a while to find all these tickers and pretty much post them on their separate screen. I explain them to you so you pretty much understand it. That is about it. Let me see if I pretty much covered everything. How many were there? 245, 245, so around 20 slides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yes, we covered all of them. We are at the end of the chapter. So we have around 20 slides there. So just remember, just the more things you can combine together, the more participants you're going to get in the setup. So, you have a first green day bounce. The ticker is the first mover after a cold market. The ticker consolidates. The ticker has a daily breakout. The ticker is the only one moving. The ticker has news again. It breaks pre-market highs. Like, if you can combine all these, you're gonna get one of these rockets like BMNR here. BMNR was ridiculous. And what's that other ticker? And this one, SBET, was ridiculous. 35 to 105. Just there's a couple of setups. They're just gonna be epic in the Hall of Fame here. But the other ones are just kind of boring. Your BMNR just epic. It's a crazy ass squeeze from 6 to like 35 that day. Other than that, see you all in my next video and peace out. This is the end of 52-week breakout chapter.